All right, can you hear me? Let's start with that. All right. Also, can I see chat? That'd be real nice. Yep. All right. Oh, wow, this is funny. I have a feedback loop. Okay, so can y'all hear me or something? Oh, there's the chat. All right, cool. I don't need this. All right, cool. So it appears that oh, yeah, of course. That's makes sense. Got another computer and it was running the stream, so I was hearing myself. It was a whole ordeal. Okay, cool. So we got some action. I can't see the group chat on here, but that's okay because I have another computer. Because just in case you don't have enough computers, you just have more computers, and then you're all set. So, cool. All right. Well, it seems like we're all set up. All right. So, for the record, I have no clue what I'm doing. I'm completely winging this, 100%. But we're gonna say that's okay. If people like this, then I'll do more in the future. I don't know how frequently. Probably every 2 weeks or something. Oh, nice. All right, we got some people. That's cool. I was afraid to be completely alone here, but it seems like that's not the case. Yeah. So, as I said, the program for today is to do some question and answers because that's what other people do apparently. So, I'm gonna start with that. After that, I'm gonna talk about Erdnase Go-Around stuff because I've spent quite some time playing around with the idea and been doing some stuff with it. Might have seen my latest video, which is all about the Erdnase Go-Around stuff. And finally, I'm going to do a tutorial for this whole cut that I've had for a while and I've been wanting to teach. And I'm going to see how it works out on the stream, because that could be really fun. The idea, of course, is that I will be making an actual video tutorial for it, and this is a trial run to figure out what are pain points, what's hard to get for people to get, and stuff like that. Because it's often really easy for people making tutorials to underestimate what's part can be difficult and whatnot. Also, since this is an old move, I've grown accustomed to it a lot. But yeah, so we'll get to that at some point. Under the whole, I have no clue what I'm doing. I also don't know how much time everything's going to take. But again, we're gonna go with that's okay. Cool. So I asked some questions on Instagram. Didn't get many of them, as honestly I expected. If you have questions, obviously chat's a good place to ask. Though it doesn't seem like there's that much interest in that. But yeah, let's get started. Also, I don't know if this is okay. Again, here I am using my other computer to figure out if things are working. Okay, it looks like it's working. This time it's muted though, so hey. Okay. Sup, Burger? Sup, Edix? I think. Yep. Cool. All right. So let's start with questions on Instagram, and by questions I mean question because there was just one. So this was by Adrian. Also, I'm French for those who don't know, so sometimes that kicks in. Right. So he was asking about the ICO videos, which were obviously pretty important to me. So the first question was, what made me enter ICO in the first place? And second part was, did you think you had any chance of winning? So the reason I entered ICO, that was my first competition, which turned out pretty well. Reason was that I had a bunch of ideas, wanted to make videos, and most importantly, I wanted a kind of a creative boost in some sorts. How should I put this? I don't know. I wanted a bit more pressure on Cardistry, and ICO was the perfect thing to do that because obviously you have to make a video every 10 days, and you have to make them all good. You can't just slack off on one of them because otherwise you don't move forwards. And it was a summer, so I had a fair amount of time to do stuff. And yeah, so that's what got me started. As to whether I thought I would win, absolutely not. I wasn't even sure to enter the veterans category. The reasoning being that although I'd been doing cardistry for a while, I had no idea what kind of caliber would the other people be. And yeah, what tipped me off to go to the veterans category was that it seemed that the grading process for the I think it was novice did not involve cardistry at all. And I did have some neat ideas at the time that I wanted to display, so I wanted that to be part of the grading process. And so yeah, no, I had no thoughts I was going to win. What I expected was going to happen was getting to the second round, maybe, and then getting axed then. I was pretty intimidated by some of the other cardists there, mainly the finalists, just because, of course, they've been around for longer and had more of a footing in the community. So I figured, well, my plan was just to get a good experience out of the whole thing. Turned out I won, so hey, that was pretty cool. So yeah, that's about it on that. Yeah, I was really surprised by the time I got to the third round. I was like, well, what is going on now? So yeah, that was a interesting period of my time, and also the last video I made with a bunch of new friends I'd met over college because I did a bit of a transfer in some ways, and so yeah, I had something that looked more like a crew of people working with me, mostly for the filming. I guess there wasn't much post production after. So yeah, that's ICO stuff. I'm gonna check if. Yeah. Okay. So as for the chat, I got actually a couple other questions. So let's see. How did I get into cardistry? It was actually interesting. As with a lot of people, I started with magic, and what really interested me in magic was the mechanics of everything. So I, would learn how to do passes and stuff, and then, do them in the mirror, and then never ever perform to anyone. And every once in a while, I would perform, and I would suck at talking to people, and it just performance was really awful. And eventually, I of course stumbled upon some good old XCM videos on YouTube. I was like, oh, that's interesting. And looked into that. Part of the reason I'm lefty is because I looked at some shitty tutorials on YouTube, and they were doing everything, and so I mirrored. And so now I'm a lefty only for cardistry, not for anything else, which is a bit funny. And yeah, so yeah, then I just liked it and kept on going. And eventually I realized that you could create your own things, and it was a pretty cool art form. Made some horrible videos as well. which were fun to make. But yeah, they're private. Oh, they're private. Um, I cringe at looking at the videos that aren't private on my YouTube channel, just because there's so much I could have done that better. But man, those are just, whew, yeah. So, anyways, that's that. Why am I so good? Literally, I don't put cards down. That's actually not exactly true. But I think it's just, there's different kinds of practice to me. There's a practice where you sit down on your bed and you focus down, try to iron out some things, smoothen the motions, come up with some new stuff. But there's also having a deck of cards with you all day and just doing some stuff. I sometimes have cards in class, and when I talk to people in conversation, I often am doing a couple stuff, couple cuts here and there. And yeah, surprisingly, it doesn't bother people as much as you would think. So give it a shot. I also took the subway every day for 20 minutes here and back to school, and over that time, I spent a lot of time, being able to focus on cardistry. It wasn't a very busy train, so it was nice. So I mean, it's literally comes down to practice, and even the creative process comes down to practice and figuring out, how you can spin ideas together, and having a large knowledge of what is possible and what would make sense and stuff like that. All right. Hello, everyone who's coming in. Well, there's apparently 25 viewers. That's a lot more. That's 24 more than 27. Whew. 27 more, 26 more than I expected. So that's pretty cool. So I was just looking at. Oh, thanks. That's a very nice nice headset. Thank you. I'm going very slowly through chat because I'm talking a lot. Oh, my Instagram. Oh, if you're interested in that, I guess I should put that in the video description. I can do that on the fly when I'm talking about something else. Creative process. That's something I should probably talk about in a whole different. That would take a little bit of a long time to explain, because I do have quite some thoughts on how to create moves. But to make a very long story short, that's a bit of yeah. I like to try thinking about specific cuts as a story, and there's a couple of reasons for that. But mainly, what it comes down to is that I feel like when a cut has a good story, and I put that under heavy quotes, then those are the ones that stand out. So case in point, you've got classic flipping tiles. You can tell there's a story to it. You can break it down to, okay, so you've got the opener, sure, you've got the first display, and then in a storytelling kind of way, there's the story kind of expands and there's a lot going on, and then there's a break, and then it expands again to get to the end. So you've got this first display, and then it closes down a bit, and then it opens up and finishes with a bang, which is, I think, why people like this cut. There's a strong theme, with the flipping tiles, etc. And so I've been starting to think of cardistry as a way of telling stories. Now, this sounds a bit bullshitty, because when you think of a story, you think of characters and stuff like that. That's not at all what I mean. I'm thinking the same way you could the same techniques you could apply to storytelling, you could apply to cardistry, and cuts that come from that mindset can be pretty successful in my experience. But it's really hard to do that, and I haven't quite nailed down what works and what doesn't. And that's what I'd say on that. I think I want to talk about that more at some point, though, but I'll move on for now. Oh, USPCC versus LPCC/EPCC. So for those who are not into acronyms, that's the US Playing Card Company versus the Expert Playing Card Company. The Legends Playing Card Company is not actually the ones printing. I think printing goes on in the Expert Playing Cards Company. They have the actual factories. When it comes down to it, I'm more of an EPCC person. partially because I got a shit ton of their cards from the ICO competition. So what can you say? But I also really like I've always really liked their finishes. I'm also a person that doesn't like to open decks all the time, so it's I like being able to keep the same deck for ridiculous amount of time. The deck of cards I used for the unfinished business video, I still use every day. That's one I bring with me in my jacket when I go out and stuff like that. Just because it's really durable and it feels like it just always works. So yeah, I really like their cards. I feel like they're kind of underused actually. I'm using some right now. These are kind of fancy. Got the whole I can got the whole shimmer thing going on. That's nice. I also don't own. I think I own like 2 blue seals, and one of them is a bicycle. So I don't have much experience with those. But that's that. I'm really happy with these. They can be a bit hard to spring and stuff. They're really meant for cuts, and I'm interested in cuts. So it's good. It's a good deal. So that's that. Oh yeah, I've actually noticed that there's a surprising number of lefty cardists that are only lefty for cardistry, and actually I think that's interesting because it seems to me that when you're doing cuts like squeeze, all the action is going in. Well, for me, in my case, in my right hand, which is my dominant hand. It seems like it would make sense. I'm holding the deck in my dominant hand. Now, the reason cards are usually dealt from the left hand because this hand is doing the right hand normally is doing the dealing, and so the hard stuff. But I mean, if you're coming from cardistry, holding it in the left hand is totally makes a lot of sense, and I feel like it also kind of shifts how you think about making cuts because the base packet starts having a lot more action than in right-handed cardists. So yeah, it's I've noticed that a lot actually. More questions. Okay, I should probably time box this. We'll say I'll do questions for 5 more minutes just for the sake of getting through the other stuff I want to do. Okay, so am I ambidextrous? No, not at all. I could not even consider writing with this hand. It would just, yeah, it doesn't work at all. Only for cardistry. And I think it's because, as I said before, yeah, it's just cardistry still works left-handed. Case in point, you can learn cuts in both hands pretty easily. I still have trouble. I'm much better doing one-handed cuts in this hand than in the other hand, unless I've drilled them. So yeah. Hello. Okay, I'm not gonna say people's names because I don't want to embarrass myself. I'm gonna go with Martin Ortiz. Or yeah, let's go with that. Actually, so Gogo is saying that they had to relearn everything to be ready at cardistry. That's interesting. So I imagine you focused explicitly on trying to be. You started out lefty and decided, oh man, I need to be righty. That's interesting. Huh. I wouldn't. At this point, it's been a couple of years. I would never consider doing that. But actually, it's kind of cool that you did that. It's pretty cool. So yeah, okay. So easy questions. Fontaines or Virtuoso? Zach is actually a really cool dude. I've met him. Actually, the first time I met him was over his Europe tour, and I'm actually in there. Fun fact. But yeah, no, he's actually a really cool dude. I'm not into the whole Fontaine craze thing though. It's cool. On the other hand, very much of a big Verts fan. I did the whole buy their deck without even looking at it before you ask the question, and I'm sure it's down there. I do like their deck. It's good. I think the main thing is that people kind of think of the deck look at the deck as individual cards, And the borderless aspect doesn't really work if you think like that. It just doesn't look very good. But if you think of the deck as a whole, then third deck, it's good. It's nice. It works well in motion, etc. I'm curious to see how well it will age. I'm not using it as much as I should, but yeah, I like it. Do I keep my fingers sticky for angel lifts and the likes? Wax? No. I'm very much of a natural man. I try to keep my hands clean usually. If I can't do an angel, then I'll, blow hot air on my finger, and that'll work pretty well. Probably, I would advise against using things like wax, just because then you have wax on your fingers, and you can only do angel. And then what happens when you try to do cuts that use your thumb? I don't know. No, it should be a all natural. Thumbs up. Hello, Diego. Favorite mood I've created. It changed a lot. It basically, I don't think I really have a favorite at the moment. This is a sneak peek. This is a bit of a sneak peek. I've been working on this for. You can't see this at all. I should look at the screen. I've been working on this for a long time. I can't even do it. Anyways, saying. All right, so I'm a bit out of practice, but this is a cut I've been working on for a while. I'm liking it a lot. It's one of those where I created it and then I couldn't do it at all because there's a lot of really tricky stuff in there, and then didn't know if it was a good cut until I practiced it enough that it was smooth, and then figured, yeah, it's all right. I'm also really liking this cut, which I put up on Instagram. But these are cuts that I haven't put in videos yet. Usually my favorite cuts aren't in videos, and as soon as I put them in the video, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. They're in history now, so that's all over. I also liked Spook and Flipping Tiles in the past. I've been pretty proud of those. Yeah, both of which there are tutorials on my channel. Woo. All right. Will I be at Cardistry? Hell yeah. I sure will. I'll be actually. Right now I'm in the Boston area, but I will be flying to Paris first, and then go to Cardistry from Paris because of reasons, and then going back to Paris for 2 weeks. So if you can't go to Cardistry but in Paris after, then I'm good to jam and stuff. So that's that. All right. Do I wear my watch on my right hand? I do not, because I don't wear watches. But I used to wear it on my right hand, and that was definitely a mistake because, and right it was there and it didn't work. But that's because I was a wee little boy and didn't know how to do things correctly. And what is the longest move that's taken me to master? It's really hard to say because, obviously there's things like Crab Shack took me a while because I was learning it. At the moment, I would say that it's the move I just showed, just because it's really odd. It's been a while since I've been working on it, and it's one of those where I'm not quite sure which direction I'm going with it, but I need to make it better to know whether I should do that. And finally, we'll do one more. What is my favorite one-handed cut? Well, by me, I would say it's this nebula variation I have going on. Showed it on Instagram a couple times. By other people, I really like Waves, because it looks awesome and it has one of those story aspects to it. It doesn't feel like it's just a random collection of mechanics. Now, there's nothing wrong with being a random collection of mechanics. It just doesn't stick as well. There's that. I also really like piano cuts. Yeah. Okay, so do I prefer Cardistry or Magic? I don't do Magic anymore. I find it really fascinating, but I'm really horrible at presenting Magic, so I've dropped that entirely. Anyway, so I'm gonna say that's it for Q&A. There were a lot more than I expected, so that's nice. We're hovering around 30 views, which is impressive. Impressive in the sense that I didn't expect it. That's cool. All right, so I guess it's about time for Erdnase Go Around the Clock. Yeah, so again, this is a situation in which I have not remotely prepared anything for this, and I'm completely winging it. But I do have a couple ideas. So first of all, I guess I think I could do is ask people on chat whether they what is their experience with the Erdnase Go-Around. Do you use it a lot? Is it a thing that you struggle with, that you want to learn but haven't learned because you don't have the whole Dan and Dave thing? Yeah, so throw your thoughts in chat. And yeah, thanks, Michael. I appreciate your comment. Yeah, okay. Anyways, yeah. So Erdnase Go-Around is one of my. It's definitely my favorite move by Dan and Dave. Dan and or Dave. I don't even know which one it is. Because it actually has things you can. It opens up some options. You know, you could argue that the molecules and whatnot are kind of changeable and stuff, and you can make variations on a lot of what they did. But good old Adonis action here. But no, the Erdnase Go-Around is a really, really strong utility move. I remember when I started doing Cardistry more seriously, I got the trilogy off of a friend, and so I was just running through all the things. And then I was doing this at the library, and I look at the thing and I look at this crazy grip, and it's like, what is going on? And it didn't help that the first one they teach, if I recall correctly, is the what I like to call the worst version, that flips like this rather than spins. And that one's is, I think, a bit more confusing. And the trilogy, I guess in general, wasn't exceedingly good at explaining things. So yeah, there's that. But yeah, so I practiced the move a lot, and enjoyed it a lot because it's also really easy to do it one-off. I've also done a bit of juggling in my life, and so I would say I'm fairly decent at hand-eye coordination when it comes to throwing things. And so yeah, so I had a bit of fun with it, but I didn't do any variations for a long time. And then I don't know when it started, but what the first variation I did was. It was probably actually, I think, the most notable, the best mix between notable and first variation was what I did for the ICO second or third round, the one when there's two of me, red and blue, and they're battling each other and then become purple. Which, by the way, side note, interestingly enough, with all the ICO videos, I realized looking back that they were really odd. It's really weird. Anyways, back to Erdnase Go-Around. So yeah, so the idea that I exhibited there, that I was really happy with, is an adaptation of a juggling move called Factory. And maybe I can teach this real quick or give some tips on that. But excuse me. But yeah, so that was one of the more interesting. That was the first time I really got something interesting. Also, for a long time, I had figured out how to do the double Erdnase Go-Around, what I like to call. I do it actually quite a bit differently than Jaspis. Jaspis has also been known to do this himself. What he does is that he throws the first packet, and then throws the entire rest of the packet. What I do is that I throw the first packet, and then as it comes down, I throw the second one, which is really key for the factory variation. So yeah, that's that. And then so the what's interesting with these is that I'm not actually touching the Erdnase Go-Around move itself all that much at all, really. I'm just kind of optimizing it to be able to do cooler things. If I can think through what I showed in my videos, a lot of it came, there's also things like Erdnase Go-Around going to the side like that. That's not changing the move at all. It's just, it's just thinking about it in a different way and framing it differently. So on the other hand, there are other moves that are a bit of a twist. There's this one which I kind of threw in Erdnase Go-Around video. And this is kind of what it looks like. The idea is that I just don't use the thumb. And so I do this weird thing where I go like this, and then it can lift off like that. I don't know if you have enough frames per second to see that, but basically it's weird and knacky, but I throw my hand this way, which pushes this here and kind of launches a rotation. And so that's when I'm starting to think of different mechanics that mimic the Erdnase Go-Around. And so that's something I would call more a variation than what I'd been doing before. Yeah, so I'm gonna look at some of the stuff in chat. Of course, I didn't prepare this setup very well. Ideally, actually I could move this a bit closer. Yeah, so it appears that interesting. Hugo says that he does the Erdnase differently, but it still looks the same. I'd love to see that actually. I mean, think about the grip; it's pretty well optimized. Yeah, I'd like to see that. If you have an Instagram, feel free to tag me. I'd love to see how you do your Erdnase, or you can send me a direct message if you're not comfortable with doing that publicly, or just not. That's whatever floats your boat. All right, it's all right, interesting. Yeah, so I will go over the basics for factory. Yeah, and actually, I guess I could do that now. That probably makes the most sense. Ooh, actually, before I do that, I wanted to talk about another move which I came up with, and there's a couple things. So I was talking about how I can, I came up with this variation, which honestly is not very useful. In the video, I do it with an angel just to show that I'm not using my thumb. It's a bit dumb, to be completely honest. It's interesting, but I don't know. Maybe I could be able to look into it and see if there's some interesting stuff you could do with that mechanic. I have no idea. It doesn't seem like it from what I've done. But yeah, so the other last thing, and I'm afraid this might go horribly because I haven't done it in a while, but the other interesting idea is that the index in the tutorial for the Erdnase Go-Around is hugely underappreciated. And reason for that is that it's just incredibly important. I think I'll go over it after to talk about some tips for the Erdnase Go-Around. But yeah, so I was thinking, you have this interesting situation where the index is pulling off here, so you're in contact. And so I thought, okay, how can I prolong that contact? So the first thing I did was have the Erdnase Go-Around go literally around the finger like that. It doesn't look very good because you can't. It just looks like you're just catching the Erdnase Go-Around under, but it feels really cool. So I'd recommend playing around with that because it's fun. So as a result, I also played around with. Excuse me. Also played around with prolonging the contact and then pushing down here to get some weird chaotic motion. And I never got anything too crazy with this. Oops. And it's really inconsistent and whatnot. But basically, you get something that's facing up in the end, which can be interesting. I didn't end up putting it in the video, I think, because I didn't have a good shot of it. But I'm not too sad because it's not that interesting. Yeah, like a pen spinning move. Actually, that was possibly the inspiration for that. Come to think of it, that I also done a bit of pen spinning, just enough to keep me busy in class. So, anyways, that's that. And so, as I was looking at what I'm in this position. Oh, of course, I can put my hand under. And this is one of the funner things, the things I'm the happiest with as to my last video is this, and then you can catch it Cobra style or not. You know, if you're bad, that's cool too, as I am right now. But yeah, so that's one of the interesting things, and I'll go over that in a bit as well. Yeah, so for those who's counting, that's a second drop. I'm glad that there are people keeping count. That's I should have expected this. But yeah, so maybe some tips on the standard Erdnase Go-Around before I get into the variations I looked at. Right. So first off, as I said before, the index is really important, and I think it's actually really doing most of the motion. So the vertical motion you get strictly from your arm movements. And by the way, this is just how I do it. So, you know, take what I say with a grain of salt. But yeah, I get all the vertical motion from moving my arm up. And then with my index, I do a trigger motion. And so what that does is that I have a lot of control on how much the deck is spinning, the packet. And so that's really important because it, if the packet is spinning enough, then you actually get, you know, it actually stabilizes itself and it won't be as chaotic. The downside is maybe it's a bit harder to catch it in the right direction. So you'll notice that, you know, when I catch it, it might be like this, or it might be the other direction. And then, you know, I have to do some weird squarey things. That's a downside. I think if you had less spin, you would be able to control that more. But oh wow, Don. Wow, that's huh. All right, blast from the past real quick. Sorry about that. Whew. Interesting. Yeah, anyways, back to cardistry. Yeah, so well, lost my train of thought. Yeah, so you get the vertical motion from your arm moving up and down, and the spinning, and of course left and right if you're tossing things in the other hand. And yeah, so those are my main tips. It's, you know, it can be helpful actually to practice the spin, just to do it with a small packet and doing the entire packet at once, not thinking about the splitting as much. Otherwise, the main tip I have for anything else that if you want to, you know, get better with your Erdnase Go-Around and do more stuff with it, the most important thing is being able to chain them something like this. And the main difference with what you might do otherwise is that when you do an Erdnase Go-Around, you might relax your fingers. And I had to really, that's how I did it for a long time. And I had to really train myself to not do that and keep myself in this position so I could just keep throwing them. That's a thing that's a bit hard to practice, especially if you've had it ingrained in you. If you're newer to it, then it might not be as hard. The way I practiced it was to yeah, so the main way I practiced it was to be on my bed and just toss things on the bed. Reasoning that I only wanted to focus on one thing at a time. And so if I just focus on tossing, then I can focus on the catching later. So yeah, those are my main tips for that. And so when it comes down to it, so things like the factory, this is a case where being able to control how much you spin is really important because you want to be grabbing the packet like this. So horizontal in relation to you, because then you want to be able to catch it flat like this. Because as you get back here, you're going to have to square and be ready for a new thing. So just to take a step back, what's going on here is that I'm launching a thing in the air, catching it up here. Then I'm moving sideways in the direction of my forearm, I suppose would be a way to describe it. Moving it sideways. And then as I'm dropping this packet, I'm doing an Erdnase Go-Around up to here. And I'm aiming for this spot in particular. And then I grab it. The grabbing is the hardest part, as you would expect. I don't have much tip on how to practice that, and except, you know, just do it over your bed a lot. And typically with a bunch of aerials, a good the way to practice is just disregard things that fall on the floor and go through the entire deck. And then once you're out of cards, you pick it up all at once. It's a bit more efficient. But wow, that's fan out of Erdnase Go-Around. Interesting, I guess. Ooh, that'd be, huh. I'd love to see that, though it seems like it was an accident. Cool. maybe you're onto something. Yeah, so that's for the factory. It's just launch it up here, move to your right, and then catch everything where it's supposed to be caught. And what's important is getting that box feel. And this is directly stolen from juggling, by the way. This is a move that exists already that I just adapted with the Erdnase Go-Around. So yeah, I talked about this, but the other thing I was doing was pushing down on the side here and separating this gap, putting my finger in here, and then I'm using actually not just my index, now that I think about it. I push up with my index and also pull back with my ring finger, and that does the rotation. The only advantage I could see here is that your thumb is free, so you could do it like in the middle of a cut potentially. It'd be like something like that. I don't know. I have no idea. So doing it with small fingers. Oh yeah, Colin is saying you could do a Carnahan fan around your, I assume, index finger. Yeah, that's, yeah. It'd be really cool. I'm not the best at fanning, but I'm sure someone out there is, and could probably pull that off. So Caitlin is asking whether it is possible to do the Erdnase Go-Around with the hand size of a 4-year-old. Erdnase Go-Around is not one of those insanely hand size. I mean, I don't consider myself to have really large hand. Like, this is a 9'6". If you have a 9'6" for scale, I don't know. I could probably measure it, but I don't have any measuring device in arm's length reach. But I mean, the hardest part will just be to split that deck, and I think even if you can't reach all the way around, doing that and then regripping a bit, you should be fine. So I don't think hand size is that big an issue. Yeah, so that's that. I guess the last thing I'll do is talk about the Erdnase Go-Around Cobra Cut thing that I have not named, but that's kind of interesting. So getting to this position. There it is. So this one, you might want to be really familiar with how the Erdnase Go-Around works and feels, because it really depends on that. But what's going on, in case you haven't caught that, was that I'm launching this, but I don't have that much vertical motion. In fact, I almost don't have any. And I'm doing all of the work with my index. So what my index is doing is pushing here, and my middle finger is rising here to grab the packet. And this is tough. It's a tough one, and it's really easy to be out of practice, I can imagine. Once you're here to do the Cobra Cut thing, the only thing that's kind of noteworthy to say is that this packet has to flip a bit. And it's, I actually don't exactly know what makes me do that. So yeah, I guess what's important is that the bottom packet rotates more than the top packet, and I think you could use your index a bit to do that. Actually catching it is also tricky because you need to catch both at the same time, but you'll get it eventually. And I think it's a fun move. Another thing I didn't talk about from my Erdnase Go-Around video is all the stuff I do with having packets upside down and spinning on the top like that. That's an idea that I've always really, really liked. And actually, come to think of it, that's probably one of the first things I did with the Erdnase Go-Around is think about how, I can have this upside down and spin on the top like that. And so one of the other things I'm really happy with is the being in the Cobra situation and the things being on top. If you want to be able to do that, I suggest looking at the video, honestly. But what I did is had this kind of situation. So I have a packet at the bottom that's face down, packet in the middle that's about halfway, more than halfway through, that's face up. And then when I grab here, it's a bit tricky, but grab here to make sure that you get these two packets only. And so when you do the Cobra cut thing, you have to be extra careful that you're stable enough that you could have it spin. Also, it helps to have a worn-in deck, not because of its stickiness, but because it's more curved. And doing a couple springs will help with that. So, yeah. Ethan says he saw the Buck twins do that, and assume that is the spinny thing with the Erdnase Go-Around. Maybe not though. Maybe something else. I haven't seen portable playgrounds in a long time. But yeah, that doesn't surprise me. I imagine that they have a couple things that they play around with. So yeah. So the Cobra stall. Oh, interesting. Oh, I didn't know that. Huh. Well, shit. Well, rats. I guess it's not mine. Well, that's interesting. Huh. I'll have to look into that again. Yeah, I see what you mean. So for those who aren't catching one, it's going on in my brain. I think they're talking about this and doing the grab like that. Yeah. Oh, interesting. Yeah, should look into that video again. Cool. All right. So anyways, I think that's about it as to Erdnase Go-Around stuff. So thanks, Ethan. Yeah, so I guess I'll be going on to the sigma square tutorial. For those who can't read that's a sigma, and that's a square. It's a sigma square. The reason for that is that I made this video a while back called Sigma, which had a bunch of ideas using this grip, which I call the Sigma grip, simply because it looks like a Sigma, because I am what some may call a huge nerd. So yeah, and so it starts out with a Sigma, and then in the middle there's a square, and so I call it Sigma square. I'm not a literature major, believe me or not. But anyways, so we'll get into ooh, Ethan wants to know about color grading. Okay, so I'll talk about that real quick, just because it's an interesting topic. Filmmaking is something I should talk about at some other points, though. Color grading, I do not do in DaVinci Resolve, although I heavily kind of advertise that they have a free software to do it. No, I do it in Premiere using their 3-color grading, just because I'm used to that from Final Cut. Yeah, color grading is really important. I'm not the best at it by a long shot, but it's what makes the difference between a my brother filmed this for me and oh shit, this looks professional. So yeah, learn how to color grade. It's real important if you're interested in making your videos look better. It's also important to figure out how much is too much, how much is not enough. Oh yeah, Burger, that's the way to go. Colorblind, of course. Like that, you don't need to. Actually, I don't know how that affects your color grading. Huh. Yeah. Fun story. So I had this class last year called Modeling and Simulation of the Physical World, and in our final project, we had made our project was basically a really weird and dumb pendulum and seeing how and modeling its motion, and the very artificial setup we had around that was that Robin from Batman and Robin fame, Robin's parents were getting shot off of a trapezium that was built in that kind of a pendulum matter, and so we thought, oh hey, Robin, he's got a color scheme. Let's just apply that to our poster, and of course, Robin's color scheme is typically red and green and yellow. So luckily, none of our professors are colorblind, but yeah, we realized that once we printed that, this is really awful. So yeah, I apologize to any colorblind person who might have seen that poster, because we had something of a heat map that ranged between red and green, and we actually did had a friend who is colorblind, and we asked him, and was like, "Oh wow, this is a horrible heat map. It doesn't show any information." And you're like, sorry, we're awful. That's the issue. So, anyways, speaking of color blindness, let's get into the. Hello, guys. Carl and Mr. Black Up. I can't read. 19. Hey guys, how's it going? You're just in time for the Sigma Square tutorial. So if that's what you were looking forward to, here we are. So the idea behind this is that I want to figure out what are pain points for people who have never learned the move before, to make a better tutorial in the future. So as a result, I hope you stay active on the chats and tell me if anything doesn't make any sense. In the future, I guess something that would be smart would be to have someone else here on the live stream learn at the same time, and then we can actually have something that's a bit more productive. But since I am, as I said previously, completely winging it, we'll just do it like it this way. So get your cards in hand. Get ready to learn some stuff. All right, so the first, okay, so again, of course, I didn't script this because who am I but an idiot. So starting grip is just like this. So it's, I think, a elevated straddle grip with the index on the bottom. And the reason for that is that I'm going to have to make sure that the angle is all right. Okay, so the reason for that is that you're going to start off by riffling off about a quarter pack to the bottom, just like this. Then from here, you're going to grab half of the deck, like this. You're going to be only holding half of that packet. So you'll notice you have a bit of a W shape coming up here. And so as you open up, you drop this packet from your thumb, and you're going to pivot this this thing outwards, and to get into the Sigma position. Cool. Right. As it turns out, when you have a Cardistry stream, people do Cardistry and have decks in their hands. So yeah. All right. Anyways, so back from the top, we start off by riffling down a quarter of the deck, then grab half of it between these two fingers. And this is a bit like Spook, if you're familiar with this. In fact, that's how I got the inspiration from Spook, is from this grip. And so with my thumb, I'm holding about halfway here to pivot this off. You're going to want to hold these two fingers pretty tightly to make sure the things don't fall too much. So yeah, we have this. So now we're in this position. This is the Sigma grip or whatever. And so both hands are going to be doing something at the same time. Or rather, this hand is going to be doing a whole lot of stuff. So what's going to happen is this, just for the sake of the preview. Just like this. So starting from the top, we have this. So now we're going to keep going here until this is clippable here. Meanwhile, you're going to do some chalier action up here, push up here to have this wee little square here. All right. So now, okay, so I'll start again from here. So open up the Sigma, push all the way through, clip as you do the Charlier, and actually go over it so that this packet meets this packet. So I have this little square. So then the next part is going to be making the square. And this is really hard because there are not many things guiding you in that process, but I'll try to explain it to the best of my ability. So we're here. And we're going to, so basically all that's happening is that, well, I guess the best way to do it is to explain it in slow motion. Excuse me. Kind of like that. So I'll try to explain the motion of every finger involved. So what's going on here is that, actually, no, what's really going on with this packet is that it is just, I'm supporting it with my ring finger, getting down here, and that's how it gets from, here to there. Meanwhile, this is heading back into this position. So I'm talking about this packet. This packet is going to slide down here. That's going to be that part of the square. All right. And right. And so this packet is just going to slide along that side. And so the point is to do everything at the same time. And this is kind of tricky. The issue I always have personally is that I'll have this finger. This finger is supposed to mediate the distance that's going through here to make everything happen at the same time. But then as soon as you get, as soon as everything gets in the middle, then it has to leave out, because otherwise it's going to make a bump on the bottom one. Okay, so let's take a break. How is everyone doing on the chat? I'd like to know. There's a bit of a delay, so I'm just going to sit here and demo the cut for a while. All right. Okay. So again, be vocal in chat if you if something is not clear or something like that. Cool. All right. All right. So the final thing is that that's not exactly the entire cut. So once you're through here, there's a bit of a closure to it. So once you're here, the packet that from your, I'm going to say right hand for you righties out there, falls here. And then what's happening, so as I'm closing this down, this flips this way. I push it down, and I'm going to do this pivot action to put it on the bottom of the deck, like this. Okay, so we have a couple questions. It seems like people are doing pretty well. So how do I support the square? Okay, so once I'm here, what's going on is that in this hand, I have this going on. So it's just standard, what you would do before closing a Charlier, for example. In the other hand, I have this packet right here on the side is actually completely resting on my hand and on this ring finger. I'm not actually clipping it in any way, shape, and form. And that's kind of one of the hard part about this. That's not the move, sorry. Is that it's not an extremely guided move. But yeah, so hopefully that answers that. Okay, so Hugo says that he can't get the first little square. So the first little square, it's, okay, I'll just go through the grip again. So imagine that in this hand, you've gone through a Charlier, and you're just past this here, and that's because that's exactly what you're doing. Meanwhile, on the other hand, you have this packet completely clipped from all the way through your thumb and between your middle and ring finger. At the same time, you have this packet held between your middle finger and thumb. So, you have this, and so that's the little square. You can't really see it because of the finger in the front. And the point is not really to see it; it's rather to get that expanding motion. But that's that. Hopefully that helps. Let's see. Gogo says he can't get the clip right. So I'm going to assume that what you're talking about is this clip. This clip is not hugely important. What's really, and actually I'm not holding all that much with this, in this area. What's really going on is that I'm holding down my ring finger right here. And so because when I get to this part, it's doing support. So if you're talking about this, this is a bit tricky. This rotation can be a bit hard, I suppose. I don't know. Tell me. So tell me what you think about. I would say this. So the middle and thumb grip. Yeah, we'll call it that. Tell me if that's hard for you or if not at all. Okay, so Rink says he has a lazy-sided box. That's normal. This is just a question of time and practice. I spent a lot of time ironing it out, and it's honestly still not very good. I can't do it completely consistently. It's mechanically very simple, but I don't know. Performing it can be tricky. You get some weird bugs, I guess, is one way to call it. Junk says, I feel like it's hard to grip between the middle finger and the ring finger. Okay, so this is what I was saying a bit before. So I imagine that what's hard is getting to do that entire rotation, mainly because this packet kind of moves out of the way. This grip, this pinch is not hugely important. I think I overplayed it a bit. What's really important is that the middle finger, the ring finger rather, is there to support the, I guess the queen of clubs as it goes down here. So yeah, okay, we got some tips. Samuel saying it's harder than it looks. Yeah, it's mechanically simple, but technically kind of difficult, and that's mainly because there's a lot of variables going on. Okay, Hugo seems to get it. All right, Rinks is asking, how do you slide the vertical packets in? How do you slide the vertical packet in ring thumb hold into place? Ring thumb. Oh, okay. So it seems that maybe you have. This would be the middle finger, not the ring finger, by the way. So Rings, I assume this is what you're talking about. If you're talking about this packet, so in this case, the King of Clubs, the way it slides into place is that I release. Oh, okay, this is important to note. I release it from this grip. Now it's just lying on my ring finger, and as it's coming down by just angling this the bottommost packet, and yeah, just resting it on my ring finger. So I'm not holding it anymore. That's important. Because you'll notice that this side is actually going to meet the other hand. So there's no longer this kind of rotation going on. Oh, okay, Bear. I'll get to your question in a minute. I just want to get through some stuff. Okay, Ring's got it. Okay, so I'm actually going to write some stuff down so I don't forget it as soon as I close the stream. On my handy dandy whiteboard I've got here, pro tip: buy whiteboard. Definitely best purchase you could ever make in your lifetime. Even better yet, get a free off a student that had a whiteboard before. That's how you do it. Right, so you've got the middle emphasis. Actually, if I were really exceedingly smart, like Stephen Hawking's level, I would have a piece of paper and a pen to write this down and not awkwardly put my back to you. But you know, we're not there yet. We're not super smart. So middle not ring is apparently an issue that came up. Also, what's important is mechanism for the hey, I have a whiteboard. I could draw. Whew. So what's really going on? Of course, I should map this out. Okay, so I have. Okay, I see how it is. Boop, 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 boop. So okay. Cool. So this is exactly why I do this. I wanted to do this is because to me, it seemed completely natural to release this grip and have this edge slide along the bottom, but it's actually really not obvious. So this was actually useful. Woo, woo, man, crazy. Cool. All right. So I'm just going to go through the thing one more time, just for everyone to have it, I guess, and it'll be good for things. So, right, you start here, pull this down, open this up, open this like this, do the charrier, clip this, get into this position, slide everything accordingly. Ta-dam. Now you're going to close this just like that. There you are. So, okay, let me move on to some of the things that people are asking in chat. So, yeah, Bear was asking about other flourishes I'm working on. Yeah, actually, I could potentially talk about that. I've been keeping these pretty hush hush because I plan on making a video when I come back from the summer. I have something pretty exciting planned. I'm not going to talk about it too much yet. But things I've been working on. I was talking about this cut before. This I'm pretty happy with. There's definitely some issues with it. This is a cut that I showed off on Instagram that I'm also happy with and still kind of working on. Smoothness is still slightly to be demanded. And finally, this is a really not obviously tough one that I've been working on. Jesus. This one I've been working on for stupid long time, long amount of time. Jesus, I can't even get it right yet. Yeah, it's kind of got that flipping tiles vibe, which is interesting. Also, I've been working on my waves combo recently that I showed off during ICO. That's always in the works. Interesting display, perhaps. This is one of the weirder things, but it's kind of fun. I like the idea of having all the cards in the middle and the hands on the outside. You could call it shell or something. So yeah, those are a couple of the cuts I've been working on. And hopefully they'll be in the next video. So yeah, Martin has been asking for a while, Jiang or Srivaj. I don't really like, ranking Cardists, but I'm a big fan of Shrivaj's work. Not particularly Cardistry, but his cuts are really, really impressive, and I'm a big fan of him. Jung has a very interesting style and some interesting mechanics. I don't like him as much. Just I his style is not for me as much as Shrivaj's. Yeah. So boop. Um, wait, what? Yes. Have you played around with doing it with the short edges instead of the long edges? Ah. Uh. Yes. This is one case where. Yeah. So this very idea of doing the actually. Oh, let me think. I had a way of getting that square somehow. So 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 you know what I'm talking about. If we call this the little square, and this is the big square, and that morphing thing. I had that in some way. Actually, no, it's in one of my SEO videos. Again, um, it's the round 2 actually. So with the red and blue me, where I have I make a large square by doing the slidey thing. I completely forget. Oh, I actually know. As I say, completely forget. This I think was how I did it. This was heavily inspired by Andrew Avila, of course, because he's all about those shapes and had a thing with the triangle. Okay, so if you could do one flourish for the rest of time, what would it be? That's a tough one, but one thing I can just keep seeing myself do is this thing. I probably wouldn't want to do this for the rest of time. I don't know. That's a really hard question. Guess you could take it two ways. Either you want something that's really comfy, or you want something that you really want to master. I don't know. This is a hard question. I mean, I guess Crab Shack is pretty fun for me. I don't know. I'm sorry, I don't have a good answer to that. All right, Rinks. I assume you've gone by now because I'm going through chat very slowly. But yeah, glad you swing by. Um, what cards did I use in my flipping tiles vid? That's a very good question. There's a very easy way for me to figure that out. I'm sure someone can educate you more quickly, but I'm curious myself now. Yep. Okay. So. Oh, Ethan, I'd like to see your idea. Again, put it up on the Instagrams or whatever. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was using the Zen playing cards, the standard EPCC Zen ones. Those are actually fun fact. Those were given to me by Maury, who I think goes by Maury Genly on Instagram potentially, at a jam in New York, because at the time he was recently sponsored by the EPCC, and was like, "Oh man, I love these cards," and I was like, "Yeah, sure, have them," and so I did, and so now I own a deck of cards because now I have a bunch of those. Ooh, go! I'd like to see what you came up to. Bear Magic is asking. Oh, actually, actual question about the. So the Heavy Metal Magician is saying that the last pack it doesn't seem to turn. Oh, okay. So right. So I think you're referring to this. That once you got through here, once you drop this, actually the proper way to explain this, I suppose, would be to say that once you've got the square, you push this down, keep this pinched, and as you close this, push down with the index. So you think you're done, but actually no, you're gonna push this over like this. Hopefully that helps. And Samuel is saying flipping tiles 2.0. Actually, yeah, I had a lot of ideas for flipping tiles. Unless you're referring to the cut I showed previously, I had ridiculous number of them. So the last one I came up with, I think, was something like this. Which is meh, honestly. Oh, I don't even remember. I had a lot of variations. There's some of them all over my Instagram, and they might have the hashtag flipping tiles on them. But yeah, I guess this would be the closest thing I have to a real flipping tiles 2.0 that I'm happy with. But man, it's hard. It's tricky. It's tricky to get right. Beer Magic is asking how long have I been doing cardistry? It's been like, so it's a bit of a hard question because I started quote unquote cardistry a really long time ago. Really long, that doesn't mean anything. But probably freshman year of high school. Sorry, freshman year of high school, which was 6 years ago. But I started doing it. No, 7 years ago. 7 years ago. I don't know. I started doing cardistry seriously when I met Ryuji Chua. He happened to go to my same high school as I did. It's yeah. So what was I saying? Ooh, off my train of thought. I should probably have a better attention span. Yeah, so I started doing it seriously with Ryuji, and so that's been more like 4 or 5 years. So I say that a decent weighted average is like 5 years. So yeah, that's for that. Well then, Michael, you seem to have some trubs. I don't think I mentioned the kettle, really. Yeah. So cool. Got the classic EPCC versus USPCC, so expert playing card versus US playing card. I'm personally a fan of the expert playing card. I feel like they're actually quite underused. I might be biased because I won a bunch of them from the ICO, so you know, take that with a grain of salt. And Ethan is asking whether I'm currently in France. I'm not. No, he's asking if I'm from France. I am indeed from France. Before you ask, my mother's American, and I've been going to English speaking schools for the past couple of years, so that's why I can speak English without too much of a French accent. But if it is necessary, I can absolutely pull the French and have a very entertaining accents. In fact, I like to meet people with these accents and slowly phase it out, and then they get very confused when I'm talking with the normal accents again. So yeah, Miles is asking, how many times and how long did it take to make your uncut final vid? Yeah, that was pretty intense. I'm still not really happy with how it turned out, but that's because I can look at all the flaws and metaphorically stab myself by looking at them. But yeah, so I think in the end it took like a total of 6 hours of shooting, which was entirely too much. And I completely forget the number of takes. In the end, we had 3 remotely usable takes. What had happened is that we spent 3 hours the first day filming a bunch of stuff, and then we didn't have any good take. None of them were good. And then so we went for a second day and shot for 3 hours, and out of that we only had 3 good takes. The main, obviously there's the typical issues of me messing up a cut or something. but there were a lot of so the elevator in that building has a tendency to idle at the second floor, just because it's faster for it to go from the second floor to any other floor. It's a 4-story building, and so um, yeah, I would arrive to the part where I call the elevator, and then the elevator takes a minute, not actually a minute, more like 30 seconds. It's a really slow elevator uh, to get back to where I was, and so that was the end of that take. Luckily, that was the beginning, but yeah. Um, okay, and so that's that. Barry's asking favorite cardist. I don't. Again, I don't like really ranking cardists, but I can give a well. So cardists that are relevant to me, I think, are Ambrose, and Ben and Ambrose. Actually, both of them. I've a lot of my style, I think, comes from them, and I've just really like their stuff. They are in my favorite video, a cardistry video of all time, which I'm going to link in chat because it's just that good, and it's not on YouTube because of Dan and Dave. Oh, I can't just. So it's called Dualism, by the way. But if you just look up Dualism on Vimeo, you get a lot of really, really odd stuff. But here we are. Oh no, hello. You wanna? Yeah. Nope. Okay. Okay. I don't. Oh, damn it! I'm not on Mac anymore. At work, I work on a Mac, and so now I keep missing the command and control things. Yes. I'm of course very dumb. Anyways, I can this. Oh no, this is a different chat. Okay, that's why. Um. Anyways, yeah. Oh yeah. Ethan is referring to the Ben and Ambrose project, and yeah, I've heard. I've heard that actually the edit. It's the guy who was going to edit the footage on that lost the footage, but yeah, that's real bad. I don't think he edits footage for them anymore. That's sad. Um, they're yeah, they're pretty cool. Also, Carl, I'm afraid I do not want to engage in intercourse with you. I'm sure a fine guy, but just on the internet, Uh, right. Okay. So I've been at it for wow, almost an hour and a half. Oof. Yeah. So oh, last question, I guess. What's my major? I saw it asked twice. I'm doing engineering, possibly design. In fact, product design. Right now, my current job is doing software, um, and yeah, just computers, man. Code every day. Yeah. All right. So I think I'm gonna wrap it up. Um, I don't know about you, but I thought this was pretty interesting. It worked out a lot better than I expected. There were a lot more people than I expected, mainly because I didn't expect anyone to come. So hey, so um, yeah. So I'd love to get some feedback. I'm going to post on Instagram, um, asking for feedback. You can also leave some feedback here. Oh yeah, Ethan, Python for life. Yeah, Python's pretty cool. Kind of weak at times, I must say. That I'm not a fan of that non-weakly typed language stuff. But anyways, don't get me started on that. Cool. All right. Well, I'll do this again at some point. I don't know if it will be next weekend or the weekend after that. I think next time I might prepare more, and by more I mean more than nothing at all. Yeah. So hope you enjoyed it. And at some point I'll work on the Sigma Square tutorial, and you will help me make that better tutorial. So you can pat yourself on the back. And right, thanks for coming, and see you next time. See you on the interwebs. Oh, I missed the button.